Number one on our list is to stop messing around with those plastic plant markers that we stick inside our 6-cell seed starter trays every spring to label our seed starts. You have to write in tiny little lettering to get all your information on them. They get in the way of getting your lights down close onto your seed starts. They just are not ideal for the job. But what is ideal for the job is using blue painter's tape and a Sharpie marker. I mean, you can see on this label, I've got plenty of real estate here to write what I'm growing. I planted out this bok choy on March 2nd, so 5 weeks ago. These have been outside the entire 5 weeks. I'm in zone 10A in Texas, so I was growing these outside. It's been through wind, it's been through rain, all of those elements, and this label is still clearly visible and legible. You can see exactly what I grew on it. And this adhesive is the perfect adhesive for this job, because even after getting wet, being outside, you can still easily peel this label right off, wash that container up, it's ready to go for next year. Our next tack is another use for our blue painter's tape. Just put a piece right here. I'm going to be using that in just a moment. If you've ever come out, try to reorganize your tomato plants and you snap over a limb like that by accident, where generally the fibers are still there, the plant's still connected somewhat, but you've really damaged it, and left to its own devices, it's just going to die. You can take your blue painter's tape, straighten that damage out, and wrap that blue painter's tape around this damaged tomato plant. Remember, this stuff is going to stay on in the rain and wind and all the other environmental conditions that you're going to have springtime or summer in your garden. It doesn't have to be pretty, just wrap it up like that. Come out in a few weeks and those fibers will have healed themselves back together. You can easily just unpeel that painter's tape, throw it away. Your plant's going to be perfectly healthy. One of the most important tools in my garden are my soaker hoses that I have set up in every single bed. I cover these with wood chip mulch, and I remove the mulch so I could go over this hack with you. In the past, I had used stainless steel wire cut to lengths, then bent over and placed into these beds on either side of this hose to hold it in place. But I found a better solution. And that better solution is these aluminum wire ties that you can pick up at Home Depot or Lowe's. And I'll leave a link in the video description of these. But these are designed to repair fencing and tie fencing together, but they work perfectly for this job. They're about 6 inches to 7 inches long, and they've got this little hook at the end that goes perfectly over your soaker hose. So as you're laying this soaker hose in place, you put these at some strategic points along the way. It makes that job go by much, much easier. And then when you're done placing your ties down and holding that soaker hose in place, you can just cover that up with mulch, forget about it for the season. At the end of the season, put that mulch into your compost bin, pull those ties back out, and reuse them next year. Our next hack is a cost savings hack, and plant starts are getting really expensive. It's $5 for a single tomato plant start now at my local Home Depot. So if you have to buy your plant starts, say your seedlings have died, here's the tip. Look in the store and look for plants that have 2 growing tips growing out of them. I've seen this with peppers before, and you see it a lot with tomatoes. And buy that plant, because it's essentially a 2-for-1 deal. And what you're going to do when you get that plant home is you're just going to take it out of your container here, and we're just going to split that plant into 2 different plants. So you've got one here that we're going to plant in this hole, just like that. And I've got another one here that I can plant right in that hole. Good way to get half price off your next seed starts. Hack number 5 is going to eliminate cucumber beetles on your cucumber plants. And I learned this by accident. Using an aerated compost tea made up of worm castings, fish emulsion, kelp meal, and most importantly, molasses. When you put this onto your soil in a soil drench about 2 to 4 cups every 1 to 2 weeks, you will not see cucumber beetles in your cucumber plants. As hard as it may sound, I couldn't believe it either, but the results of me starting to use aerated compost tea, and specifically aerated compost tea using molasses on these cucumber plants, was that cucumber beetles stay away from them. I believe this is because cucumber beetles cannot stand molasses, and so doing a soil drench means that if there are any eggs in that soil, they either don't hatch or they hatch and then go somewhere else. But since I've started doing this, I don't have that problem anymore. I'm going to leave a link down in the video description for how to make aerated compost tea. Put 1 to 2 cups every few weeks at the base of your cucumber plants, and you won't be seeing cucumber beetles this season. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I'm a big fan of garden Velcro because it can be used over and over again in the garden, and it's really good at putting plants or holding plants in place and getting them under control if they're sprawling all over the place. This Velcro comes in these large rolls like this. So here's a good garden hack for you. Take a piece of Velcro the length of your garden basket, whatever container you're using to carry your trowel and your clipper, whatever in. Cut a piece of Velcro length of that container. Get yourself some super glue at the Dollar Tree for $1.25 and lay a bead of super glue down on your container. Take that cut piece of Velcro, put it right on that super glue and let it dry. And then what you can do is you can cut pieces of this Velcro 2 to 3 inches in length like this, and you can store that right on your garden basket. When you need it, and at the end of the season, when you're collecting all of these pieces of garden Velcro, you can take them right back off, put it right back on your garden basket. You'll know where this stuff is. You won't have to go looking for it every season. For the final garden hack of the video, let's say that you've been growing your tomato plants and for some reason you've lost some of them, or you just need or want to grow more tomato plants, but you don't have time to go germinate more seeds, and you don't want to go buy seed starts at the big box store. If you've got one good plant growing, have a look on that plant and look for a good healthy sucker. So where you have a main branch and a side stem sticking out of that main branch, in the armpit of that plant, you'll have what's called the sucker. And you can normally bend this back and forth and just break that right off. And you take some nice, good quality organic potting soil. Make sure that it's already wet, well moistened down. Put your pinky in it like that. Take your seed start, stick it in, press it in just like that. Tomato plants will grow roots out of all of these little white hairs that's growing all up and down the plant. So there's a really great chance that this is going to grow its own roots and be just fine and grow into its own tomato plant. There's a good hack for you. And don't forget to put your blue tape label on it. Label that tomato plant.